right, you ready for intro?
I'm ready for intro.
All right, and 3, 2, 1.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Get Your Paint On for today, January, I believe, 17th. Yeah,
17th?
2019. We're here with studio painter Jordan Lamb.
Hello.
I'm Will Hungerford, lead developer here at Privateer, and with me is Jeff Olson, newest member of the development team and playtest coordinator.
Hello.
This is Jordan. This is your first Get Your Paint On, or have you done those in the past?
I've not done a Get Your Paint On.
So this is Jordan's first ever Get Your Paint On. Jordan, you're going to be a staple on Get Your Paint On. We'll be seeing you, I assume, probably every week.
Yep, that is the current plan.
So you can always catch us at twitch.tv/privateerpress at 10 a.m. Pacific, or watch the videos later if you want to see what Jordan painted and just learn cool tips and tricks at youtube.com/privateerpress. If you've never watched the show before, Jordan's going to paint. He's going to talk about his painting, but more importantly, we're going to talk to all of you in chat. So if you have any questions for Jordan about his painting techniques, or you just want to talk to Jeff or I about development or anything going in the game,
Sandwiches.
Or sandwich condiments.
or sandwich condiments, hit us up, because that's definitely the point of the show, is to be talking with all of you. So Jordan, what's on the plate today?
So we got Baron Tonguelick today. You probably saw the solicitation go live last week, I believe it was.
Sounds right.
Yes.
And I liked the guy so much, I'm gonna paint one for my own army.
Cool.
So we're gonna have some fun. We're gonna try and get this guy done in the hour.
You're going to try and finish him in
I'm
the
gonna
entire
try
hour?
and finish him, or at least get him pretty close.
Okay, cool.
That's the goal. Let's see what we can do here.
So where do you start?
Where do you start?
Yeah. I mean, obviously you've
So-
primed him, right? Is he Zenithal?
Yes.
Okay.
So typically when I try to do speed paints or stuff faster, using Zenithal highlighting technique is a good starting point, because it builds a lot of that highlights and shading for you already. So you don't have to paint as much of it into the model.
Cool.
It does a lot of the work for you. So we're going to start here with the skin tone, which is a little bit of sanguine base and a little bit of bloodstone mixed.
Oh man, I want to see you press.
Hold on, I got those colors in, so here we go.
All right.
See some movie magic here.
And the consistency when you're doing work over a zenithal, you want kind of a little bit of like a glaze type consistency. So you'll see this will go on pretty translucent.
So this is kind of like almost like painting with washes, right? Well, you're doing
Yeah.
glazes. I mean, you're doing...
It's pretty much that, right? Like you're tinting the colors that are already there and the shades that already exist.
Let me ask you a quick question, because I think this is actually super relevant for my interest too. Where Tony asks, white primer over gray or black?
So it's white over black.
Okay.
Is
Is,
what I
white over gray a thing? Because I actually know very little
So-
about the technique in general.
Typically, it's a black base coat, and then you'll use either gray or white over it.
Oh, so you use gray over the black. So you're always gonna. Okay, interesting.
Yeah. Or you can do gray and then white. It just kind of depends on what your personal preferences are. I had access to a spray can of white and black, so that's what I've been using. You can definitely always use like airbrush as well, which is super easy. Takes a little bit more time because you have to clean the airbrush. So rattle can is a pretty good way of saving a little bit of time, and it works just as well.
Yeah, the way you're painting is actually how I painted a lot of my gators for my blonde water. My Barnabas 2, I finished in, I think, an hour and a half. From start to finish, and I did the same technique of. Actually, the way I did mine was I primed him just straight white. Then I gave him like a thick black glaze all over to catch all the shadows. Then I went back over and did the individual colors. So mine's a little bit. It looks dirtier, but that's what I wanted, was him to look like he had just kind of come out of the muck of the swamp.
Yep.
That's pretty good. In an hour and a half? There's a lot going on that model.
Yeah, but a lot of it's bone, and as it turns out, when you do like this Zenithal style speed painting with washes, like bone's super easy.
Our good buddy Sean Hopkins, scoring buddy.
Oh, what's
wants,
up, man?
He wants us to have a big picture of you and a tiny picture of Tonguelick.
I can make this happen. Actually, one of the things that happened today is we got Jordan coming in and neglected to tell me he was a left-hander until about
I
10 minutes
literally
before the show.
destroyed his entire setup.
So it was like
It
a
was
big
great.
scramble to get that camera zoomed around to the other side, and everything set up so you can kind of see it there lurking over
Holy
his
hell,
shoulder.
I
in the
would have
background.
literally never noticed that until you just pointed it out. Now,
Yeah.
now I'm watching Jordan paint through the monitor, and it's blowing
Yeah.
my mind.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah. If we'd had left it where we usually have it, you would have just seen nothing but the back of his hand and the butt end of his paintbrush.
Yep, that would not have worked out very well.
Jordan, chat right now is saying they want a new Kickstarter add-on goal, which is that if it gets hit, you have to shave your head and change your name to Will. How do you feel about that?
Approved.
How about all the Wills just get wigs and wear them all the time?
I have a full head of hair.
And then call themselves, well, you can
I don't need a wig.
grow your hair out then.
I
don't know,
can't.
We'll figure something out.
I look like one of the Beatles if I
There's
grow
not
my hair
enough
out.
Wills left. We're making this the generation of Jays here at
That's
Privateer
true.
now.
That's true. Jeff, Jordan.
Yeah, we even have. There's another Jeff.
Other
Jeff
Jordan?
Hanley in the warehouse. Other Jordan. Yeah. Rise
Jordan's
up.
Jays are
It's a
taking
J
over.
revolution.
I will burn down everything around me
Everything you know is a lie.
to make sure that never happens.
Also, Jordan is quite the baby face when he shaves.
Oh God, you don't want to see that at all.
I kind of do. When you say I don't want to see something, I absolutely do.
It's-
the forbidden fruit. You need it.
I mean,
Dude, it's
I-
the easiest way to kidnap me is to be like, you don't want to see what's in this van. And I'll be like, don't tell me what to do with my life. And then I wake up in Houston.
and then I wake up in Houston.
Yeah,
no, man.
again.
Definitely not a real story. Definitely didn't actually happen.
Recently, this week.
So one of the things that you can do as well with these this glaze technique over the Zenithal is kind of going back over some of the like shadowy areas that you want to have be a little bit more saturated with color, just to bring a little bit of that, darker, more saturated color in and keeping the lighter area. You can see a little bit here on the chin. I've gone back underneath with a little bit more of this glaze to strengthen that color. You can see that nice little highlight there on the ridge.
Yeah.
So-
Tony Noon on Facebook has a question regarding your technique. Asked, do you ever use inks sometimes instead of glazes for this technique?
Yeah, so typically I will use inks for my glazes. I just wanted a slightly different color tone, so I'm using the paints that I have on hand. Inks are basically just a much higher concentration of paint pigment to water, so you need to thin them out a lot more than you would typically have to with your regular paints. So they're definitely very good for what you're trying to do here, or what I'm trying to do here. And you'll see me do a little bit of that. I've got some for when I start working on the cloak here in a second, or in a few minutes. I'll be using some turquoise and some piggy purple and maybe some blue ink to color in that cloak. Because most of my Grimkin are going to be like a teal color with some orange glow. So we're going to be working a little bit of that in as well.
And I want to clarify Tony's question that as I understand it, inks or glaze is a technique, and then inks are one of the things you can use to make a glaze. So it's not an
correct, yeah.
either or.
You can make a glaze out of basically anything.
So people are asking again about the primer choice that have just been joining us. This was a white primer over a black primer.
It was just a rattle can, right? You
Yep.
didn't airbrush it.
Yeah, this was not airbrushed, right, Jordan?
Correct. Yeah, this is just rattle can.
Can you actually do me a real quick solid and turn him so that his little like bug on his hat is showing to the camera? Because I want to point out that detail.
Let's see here.
Let me help you out.
It's right there.
Yeah. Because I saw that because I have a copy of this guy now that you got for me. And I hadn't noticed that when I saw the painted solicitation. And I looked at him and I was like, that's an adorable little detail that I love. But he has like this big swamp. I don't know. What's this goofy bug thing on his head? I don't know. He looks like a Disney character, basically.
Swamp fly?
Were you going to say like a horsefly?
Sure. I don't know.
It's just a fly, dog.
It's a big. It's a,
You know what
big-ass
we call what we call bugs in Louisiana in the bayou?
lunch.
Bugs.
So we're going to go in with a little bit darker shade now. We're adding a little bit of umbral umber and some coal black into the mix. Just to-
Umbra, coal black.
and a little bit of coal black. Yep.
Give me a second. I will make this happen.
Rancor in chat says, Jordan, you'll get bonus points if you paint that little bug on his hat like a bee.
like a bumblebee with
Like
a
a
little cute
bumblebee?
bumblebee
like
butt?
a little bumblebee.
Yeah, like yellow with black stripes. Or are
Maybe
they
we
are they
can
are they
do
yellow
that.
with black stripes or are they black with yellow?
Now these are
stripes?
bonus points.
Bonus
You get
points.
points for finishing the model. But
All
like,
right.
if you
Challenge
want,
accepted.
If you want bonus points,
I missed that one. I didn't do it. It was like I was way off. And
I'm telling you.
There we go.
Oh,
Get some Foley in here.
that's how we do it.
I love your sound effects.
I like doing the sound effects.
Can we
It's
make
my one contribution to the show.
Can we actually make like a soundboard of your sound effects?
Runewise asks, is it an individual hat on the model? It's not, right?
No, it is sculpted into the model itself. So it is not a separate piece.
Yeah, in fact, if you turn him to face directly towards the camera, he's basically a big resin chunk, and then the arm with the cane is a
Yeah,
separate
this arm
metal
is
piece.
the only separate piece on the model.
Yeah.
Everything else is one whole piece, which is great because it makes assembly super easy.
Yeah, so it was awesome, and he's just like chock full of character.
Yeah, this is probably one of my favorite models that I've seen us do in a while. This guy is very, very cool.
Stephen Hoover asks, are there colors that don't work well with thinning? He's using Kador red, and he's not exactly getting the results that he wants.
So, Kador red, if you're going to use Kador red for like a glaze, I would typically use red ink instead. You're going to get like I was talking about, it's a much stronger, more pigmented color. So it'll probably work a lot better for you for glazing than just Kador red ink will, or Kador red will, excuse me. Also, you may want to start with a different color underneath and then work up to the Kador red if you want to do that instead. You can still get away with it, but it does take a lot more layers than your typical like browns or blues will take, just because of the way that they apply to the model.
Learning, like early on when I was first painting, learning that it's okay to do multiple layers was like one of the first hurdles I had to go over. Because you'd put some colors on, you'd be like, this blue or green went on immediately and it's done. And then I'd do red or yellow and I'd be like, my paint's broken. Like, I put on a thing of yellow and it didn't work. And I put another thing of yellow and it didn't work. And eventually just learned, like, it's okay to relax and just slowly paint up those layers and build that color up.
Yeah, there's a lot of frustration sometimes trying to get nice red or orange or yellow layers on.
I've learned various tricks, though. Red, a brown base for me, I found. If I put a brown base down, if I want a dark red, that makes things very easy. Same for golds.
Sometimes what I like to do, because I get impatient, is I'll mix in just a little bit of white or Menoth white base into the red, and it makes it pink, so you can't leave it that way, but that white will cover up whatever you're painting underneath, so it makes the paint less translucent, so you get that nice base down, and then when you add the red on after that, you're not trying to cover up like a dark color or another color underneath it quite as much.
Sweet. I never even thought about doing that. What are you painting up right now? Either you painting anything at the moment? And maybe not. You might be busy.
Yeah, I haven't been painting too much lately.
He's too busy making cool strides.
I have not painted in a long time. I sort of retired from painting in the sense that, you know, I love having painted miniatures, but I just have a person who does it for me, to be honest.
Oh, sure.
However, I just ordered all of that Lords of Cthulhu stuff.
Yeah.
So like the Yasheth and all the units, and I think that's going to sort of be my triumphant return to
Painting.
base coat.
Wash highlight. Base coat, wash, dry brush. Yeah.
So yeah, that's I think I'm actually probably going to tackle that one myself, just because I wouldn't mind getting a little bit back on the train.
The first few Riot Quest models have started like popping up downstairs.
Oh,
And
yes.
my next painting project will be to paint all of the Riot Quest roster over the next however long that takes, because the roster's huge. And I know there's some down there right now. I've seen a couple of them, and Jordan's up here streaming, so I know that's why I'm on the stream today, is so that I'm not downstairs robbing everyone of those models.
I definitely, because he had several models on his desk, and I was checking them out the other day, and I contemplated literally stealing them. Grand Theft model.
Yeah.
I definitely have the coolest desk in the building. Just saying.
Like, who's going to believe you? If we just walk down there and jack models, like no one's going to, now people will because we've said it on stream, but like, no one's going to be like, Hungerford and Jeff came by and just stole a bunch of studio models. Matt Wilson would never believe that.
Yeah. Oh, it's easy
Of course
enough to
he would.
distract people. He'd be like, "Hey, can I see that? That's super cool. I just want to take a look at it for a second." and then you just hold it there. People get back to work, and then you just go away.
See, or you tell them, hey, you don't want to know what's in this van. And then when they go in there and someone drives them to Houston, you just take all the models.
New models love getting in vans.
So what I'm doing now is, now that I've gotten a couple of shades in there, bring him back to the front and see his face. I took a little bit of bloodstone, and I'm bringing it back into the highlight layers to kind of get this color back in and stop it from looking just white.
I really like that kind of orangey brown. Is that like a burnt umber?
Yeah. Bloodstone is, I don't know. Whoop, 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 up. Aha. That color.
It's okay.
Movie magic.
We'll get there eventually. And then what color do I want to put in here?
I would say that the current flesh tone of this frog makes me feel uncomfortable. Like he is like a well-tanned person frog, and it looks great, but I'm like, oh no.
Well, it's always nice to see something that's a little off of what you would expect. So, frog green.
Yeah, frogs are green. Not this one. This one's like,
I mean,
Florida
toads
suntan
are
frog.
actually like kind of brown and greenish. You'd be surprised if you actually like Google some pictures of frogs, what color they actually are.
Did
I
you,
don't
did you
need
look
to-
at reference for this?
I don't need to Google pictures.
Well, I mean, a lot of this is like reference that I already had from Baron Tonguelick that I'm just adapting a little bit more for my own purposes.
So you're definitely painting this up very different than the studio model.
Yeah. So this has got a lot of like purples in the shades and blues, whereas the other one's pretty much brown and green.
And you're basically painting this to match your existing army, correct? Mm-hmm. And because you started out with Crix when you first started,
Yes.
and then you did Scorn. Did I miss an army in there?
Yes, I think.
And then we went to Grimkin. That was your next big army. And how you have a
That
chunk
sounds
of
right.
your Grimkin painted.
I have a very small amount of it.
Do you
painted.
are
This
you
is-
going to adapt like a new scheme, or are you just kind of going into the existing scheme you have?
So this is actually the new scheme.
Okay,
So
there we
So
go.
originally I wanted to go with like a very grayscale army with like pretty intense purple glow across the board, and a couple months ago I kind of came up with the idea of doing something a lot more vibrant and blue and yellow and greens and purples and pinks and that sort of thing. Just because I thought it would be a little bit more interesting to look at. So we're going to try that and see how it goes. And if I hate it, then we can always repaint it and figure it out from there.
And you already have kind of an existing list you used to play with your Grimkin. Do you think you're
Yes.
going to basically recreate that and include some of the new models, or are you going to?
I think it depends a lot on, how I feel about the new models incorporated into the existing list and kind of go from there.
Get them on the table, put some table, roll some.
Yeah, because I
dices.
haven't really gotten a chance to play them. I've been pretty busy lately, so we'll see. By the way, we're going to start working on the cloak a little bit here while we let the rest of his skin dry. It's one of the downsides of doing glaze, kind of painting with glazes, is that it can take a little bit longer than what you're typically used to for paint layers to dry, because you're basically painting with water. So if you paint in a slightly thicker layer, it can take pretty significantly longer to dry, especially if you don't have a blow dryer, which I do not have currently.
But you save a lot of time overall if you had done the sort of standard way of painting, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so-
definitely.
I'd also like to call out that in the Facebook chat we have Doug Seacat. So if you have Baron Tonguelick lore questions, the man is there to answer them for you. And if he can't actually answer it, he'll make it up on the spot.
Yeah. Well, no,
Everything he says is canon.
Correct.
In chat or out of his mouth.
Yeah, that is 100% true. Doug is a living encyclopedia of Iron Kingdom's lore knowledge.
All right. So this color that I'm working with now is some Meridius blue with a little bit of turquoise ink.
Make some sound effects for me,
Oh,
Tony.
oh God. Got that on his face.
Here's the first one.
Just going to wipe that off. Nobody saw that.
That's so good.
Turquoise.
Turquoise. That's how you say it.
it's French.
A little
Fragile.
bit watery for my taste, so do that so you guys can see it. I'm going to put a little bit more paint in there.
Oh, you said it's feeling a little watery, so just add a little bit more pigment?
Yeah. Just add a little bit more paint just to thicken the paint up a little bit. Because generally speaking, you want something, I'll do it on this side of the hat, you want the paint to kind of just apply and not pool up. So you want it to tint the color that you have there, but not pool or dissipate when you're moving it with the paintbrush.
And in Twitch chat, the Dragon Pup asks, who's the first caster you're going to play with Tonguelick?
Probably Old Witch. I'm a pretty big fan of Old Witch in Grimkin. I have been for a while, and as that was kind of the one that I played back when I was playing this faction a lot more. After that, I'm not really sure. I was thinking about trying a heretic list afterwards. But
Is your Old Witch painted? I don't remember.
I have one that's in
right.
process. Unfortunately, I dropped it not too long ago, so it's it's a little worse.
I like
worse
how
for wear.
It's in pieces, not in process.
Hold on. I like the 3 different reactions. So you're like, I dropped it. Tony goes, ooh. I sit here silent and shocked at the horror of it. And Jeff is just laughing his ass off. Like,
Well, Jeff is probably just not surprised. He knows how much of a klutz I can be.
Have you ever dropped any studio models while you were working on them?
Oh, of course. Absolutely. 100% have done that. I'm not going to lie about it.
have you ever dropped one when we were setting it up in a booth at like Gen Con?
No, definitely not.
Yeah, so when we're setting up the booth at Gen Con, and Tony, you've been there, like we'll be doing the light towers, we'll be setting up demo booths, we'll be like building the structure, and then somebody's like, can someone help putting the miniatures in the case? I'm like, I literally refuse to touch those. Like, I do not want to be responsible for breaking like Thagrosh or something.
We, if anybody's, any Gen Con attendees or anybody who goes to a convention has ever seen us get on a plane, you see that like the crew is just laden with battle foam bags.
Yeah.
And just carrying miniatures on the plane and having to hand carry them because we can't check them. And so it is just nonstop stress to put that thing in the overhead compartment.
It's the worst.
And then pull it out at the convention and then hope that it just stayed intact, making it from travel through security onto the plane and then into the miniatures case and then back again.
I went to a vendor show and I'd been given a Conquest. It was the studio painted Conquest, and nobody had seen them yet. We were showing them at this show and going around, and my battle foam bag the inside had been built like a vault. It held one model, a Conquest. And carrying that thing around, I just felt like everywhere I went, it was like being the person with the briefcase handcuffed to them. Like, I can't let anyone else see this. No one can touch it. It was so stressful, but it was so worth it when people saw it and like everybody like losing their mind over seeing like the first ever Colossal.
Jordan and I and some other friends of ours went to Kingdom Con like 3 years ago.
That was the hot tub?
Didn't hot tub.
Okay.
But before we started working here.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
And
it's less hot tub time.
And Jordan and I and another good friend of ours, we carried on our tournament bags, our army bags. Mm-hmm. And our fourth friend, Dave, checked his bag.
Oh. Yeah, that was a mistake.
And we were sitting at the window in the plane, and we saw them.
Oh yes, I remember this.
It's not funny. It's not funny.
Oh, it's hilarious.
And I sat there and I saw them like handling his bag, putting it on, taking off the plane, and so we got to the hotel. And he was playing Minoth, and his Harbinger was just demolished.
Gone. It was
gone. The old Judicator, the plastic one. Oh. Mm.
So I have a Lyle Lowry story, my boy Lyle, who we went to a show years ago, and this was shortly after, again, the Conquest had been made available for everyone to buy. And Lyle was bringing his Kador army, and he did not have enough room in his battle foam bag for the Conquest because he couldn't get his hands on one of the Conquest foam battle foam trays. They hadn't come out yet because it was so fresh. So he checked it, and he wrapped that thing up in so much foam, and so he had the rest of his army in his tournament bag, which got on the plane with him, and then he had the Conquest in this foam vault inside his suitcase. So we get to the show, and him and I are rooming together, and he's opening his suitcase to get change of clothes, whatever, and I just hear oh no. And I look over, I'm like, what's up, dude? And he takes out the foam vault, which has clearly been opened because they went into his bag. And he just turns it upside down. They had broken every piece off individually. So they'd been like, break the arms off, break each finger, everything that connected. They had basically disassembled the Conquest to see what was going on. And so when he dumped it upside down, it was like confetti. Fully painted metal confetti.
So it didn't even
resin
break in transit. Like
No,
it
this
was opened up and
it was open-
taken apart.
Yes, they had the little like slip inside there that says like your bag has been searched or whatever, and the Conquest had been like disassembled.
Yeah.
We spent that night like getting glue and putting it together, and it ended up fine. But like that was a little like really disappointing when it happened.
Yeah, there's been if you travel with miniatures, there's been a handful of times we've had to open up bags just so they'd be like, what's in there? I haven't had any problems personally.
Oh, it's always fun to explain to TSA and people. They're like, "What is this?"
Yeah.
You're like, "It's a resin figure." What do you mean? Oh, it's like a statuette, like a miniature. What do you mean? Does your grandmother have a tiny Santa town? She does have a tiny Santa town. It's those, but nicer.
I had one guard we were going through. He asked me what was in the bag, and I explained to him that it was miniatures for a game. And he looked at me real steely at it. He was like you play this with another person? And I was like, uh-huh. And he's like in life, and you look them in the eye when you play? And I was like, uh-huh. He's like, good job. Go ahead.
I found
yeah. That was a nice little moment. I wasn't expecting it to go well, but he liked it.
I found that when people have trouble grasping the idea, comparisons to either like Nana's Christmas Town or a train set town. Mm-hmm. So people that have no concept of gaming or what we do, they're just no idea. Those two comparisons, they get it. They're like, oh, you like tiny things. Like I love tiny things.
As a former salesperson, my regular pitch to customers who were much less familiar with the concept of tabletop wargaming is that it's like model trains and planes meets chess.
Yeah,
is usually a concept that makes a certain amount of sense. And then Marshall over on Facebook is asking, what model is this, Jordan? Because he was late to the party.
Is a solo Warcaster attachment.
Yep.
For Grimkin, called Baron Tonguelick.
the Lord of Warts.
The Laird of Warts. Yeah, he's currently in CID, so you can go and check out his in-test rules at cid.private. How do you say it? Privateerpress.com.
Privateer Press.
Privateerpress.com.
Privateer Press.
Yeah, he's a cool caster attachment for all of the fires in Grimkin.
And if you go to Privateer Press Prime, you can see the latest CID developer hangouts. We've posted those videos, conversations with the boys.
Hitacool on Twitch says, whenever talking to somebody about what miniatures are, he's always said it's Risk on steroids. I can see that, but also when I'm like going through TSA, I don't think I want to mention. I don't want to mention any kind of drugs, even like prescribed drugs. Steroids can be prescribed, but I don't want to be like, what are those? They're like toys on steroids. Like, sir, we need you to step aside. No.
Just the wrong impression to give them.
Yeah, this is a really, really, really cool looking model. I think he's just got so much flavor and character. He's like this weird frog demon gentleman, I guess.
He's a weird frog dude.
Yeah, but like he's like the stuff of like a fey creature of nightmare, right?
A lot of people are asking if he's a frog or a toad and stuff like that, and the answer is Baron Tonguelick is neither. He's a Grimkin, and Grimkin are not real. You can't eat this guy. Like he's just made of like immaterial nightmare.
Do they like turn into like a cloud?
No, we had a conversation of what would happen if you killed a piggyback, and because when piggybacks first got seen, people were like, give them the bacon rule. And we had a conversation, myself, Matt Getz, and Doug Seacat, about could you eat a piggyback? And like, is there some like material left behind when you kill one? Like, do they bleed? Yeah, there's probably like ectoplasm or some weird stuff. But
we've all seen Ghostbusters.
Yeah,
we know what happens.
They're not like, but it's not even like Ghosts. They don't just like explode like that. But like, they're not real. They're not in the sense that we think of. They're demons, effectively.
Yeah.
So eating a piggyback is a super bad idea, by the way. Do not put them in your mouth.
I don't think we should tell people what to do.
I'm going to tell them not to put miniatures in their mouths. I'm saying that now officially. Do not put Privateer Press miniatures or products in your mouth.
Are you gonna be doing anything to this blue? Like
yeah, so I just added a little bit of coal black to create a first shade And I added it to the previous mixture just to tint it a little bit. We'll probably go in with a different color here in a few minutes once I get this first kind of shade in.
So we're at the 10:30 mark. How are you feeling about finishing up?
We'll see. We'll see. Probably not, but
Confidence.
confidence.
Jerry on Facebook says, "What's the most fluff? How did he materialize for the Grimkin?" Primecast is going to be tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific, where we're going to talk to people across the different departments of Privateer Press. If you've never watched Primecast, it's super awesome, sort of like our variety show. Doug Seacat will be on. So if you want to ask any questions about the 5 new Grimkin models and any fluff questions you might have for him, that is definitely where you want to come talk to him. He can probably tell you, about Baron Tonguelick and what's going on with him.
Ooh. You see that? This Oxy guy on Twitch says, what size brushes are being used? I like that.
Let's see here. This doesn't have a size on it.
Medium.
Nailed it.
Medium.
What are your standard brushes?
A 1 and a 2, typically. I'm looking at something kind of like this. There we go. Those are typically the size. Thumbnail and reference.
You need a banana, dog.
Reference thumbnail.
We're trying here. All right, so this shade that I'm putting together here is a little bit of coal black, some beaten purple, and what else do we want to put in here?
What is this going to be for?
Just the darker shade on the hat.
Okay.
And this is not going to be a glaze. This is actually just going to be a 2-brush blended normal paint mix.
Just those two, coal black and beaten purple?
Yeah, for right now. We'll
Okay.
mess around with other stuff in a second.
Wait for it.
I'm waiting. Your sound effects are on point, dog.
Did you workshop that or?
It evolved.
Okay.
It definitely evolved, Just got a little bit of improv in the beginning, and now it's just become the standard.
What color are you gonna paint his big ruffle?
I don't know yet. I'm willing to take
Suggestions?
suggestions.
How about suggestions from chat?
Oh,
Yeah, I'm in. Let's
All
do
right,
it.
so Twitch chat and Facebook, you're looking for the ruffle. What colors would you like to see Jordan paint the ruffle on Baron Tonguelick? We will take your suggestions for the next little while and see what's
beneath his prodigious jowls.
his prodigious froggy jowls.
And I mean, I have to imagine that fur is gonna go real quick too.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the fur could technically be done like that. Literally, like you could do white fur, right?
Yeah.
Could definitely do that.
I mean, but don't. But you could.
Legionnaires is talking about how you said it was interesting on brush sizes because he was always told to use the 0 and the 00. Legionnaires, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that whoever told you that was way too rigid. You use whatever brush gets the job done. It's very common, in my experience at least, to see painters who use sizes between 0, and 2, but there's no fixed, this is the way you got to do it, whichever one you like. Some people like a finer tip. Some people like a little more loaded brush. You do what you do.
So far, the colors we've seen are somebody wants cream, somebody wants a shade of fuchsia, and there's been a couple calls
pinks, yeah.
for pink.
Here we go. Here's someone who's actually thinking about it. A deep green, says Striker, or a nice off-white.
Were you saying the people that said pink weren't thinking about it?
I just feel like his response was like measured.
I got two,
Two for cream?
off-whites and cream, so it's looking like dirty white.
I mean, if you did like a white, you could, put like polka dots, like a pattern on it or something.
Or like, what about soup? Like you dribbled soup.
Yeah, could you paint dribbled soup, Jordan?
I mean, yeah.
Can we put a bread bowl on his base?
Oh, bread bowl. I haven't had a bread bowl in forever.
I had a bread bowl recently, and it was the first time in a long time. and
Bread bowls are
I loved
fantastic.
it.
Did you go to
Man.
Ivar's?
No, we were at Panera.
Panera does bread bowls?
Yeah.
Like, what do they do? Clam chowder bread bowls?
They have a variety of soups. Sometimes clam chowder is an option, but they have it's a pretty typical chicken noodle or like a cream-based pea soup or whatever.
Ivar's clam chowder bread bowls.
And you see these commercials for like a new Ivar's opening in Issaquah.
I don't go to Issaquah.
Me neither, but I'm willing to go if there's like a nice new Ivors.
There's Ivars like near I live in Seattle. I've got Ivars everywhere. I can go to.
For people who don't live in Seattle, tell them what Ivers is.
Oh, Ivars is like a local fish and chips place, but there's two versions. Like when you go to an Ivars, there's usually like a
Can
super.
you not emphasize the Ivars?
No,
Like, this is
I'm
creeping
from
me out.
Louisiana. That's how I talk. So there's like a super fancy restaurant that has like really great seafood, and
Yeah.
then like outside will be like the fast food version of it, where you can walk up like counter service and get fish and chips and bread bowls and stuff like that. And then some places are standalone fancy, and some are standalone fast food. And the fast food's like great fish and chips, but they do clam chowder bread bowls, and they're
In fact, there is an Ivors in the SeaTac airport that I almost always stop at whenever I go on a flight. That's like my go-to. Well, time to wait for an hour in the terminal. What am I going to get for lunch? Kind of thing.
Striker 911 just said Ren Fair bread bowl or bust. My God, I love Ren Fairs. Can we talk about Ren Fairs for a second?
No.
Okay, so
No, that's not happening.
Philip Aubert Aubert says, "Can you touch on the skin tones again, real quick?" Just joined the chat. So, what colors did you use to do the skin tones?
So we used a mixture of bloodstone and sanguine base for the base color, and then we added in a little bit of umbral umber for a darker shade, and then we added a little bit of, I think it was beaten purple, to really get in there with some like really dark shades.
And these were all done as glazes over a Zenithal highlight.
Yes, that's correct.
Yep. So he just primed white over black with using Zenithal, and then is just glazing these over there.
Yep.
And Pat Velota Jr. has an interesting question. If someone were to take an extended education type college class, what type of art class would be the best to help with miniature painting?
To be frank, I have no idea.
Yeah.
I have no traditional art school background.
Computer science.
Yeah, computer science sounds good. I would probably just say if you're going to be doing or taking any sort of classes, like get as much art theory, like color theory as you can, and then kind of go from there.
I second what Jordan says about color theory. Like if you get a painting class, the painting skills might help a little bit, but the color theory is the most translatable skill.
So there's a question that came up from Philip again. He says, "Color theory?" ?
So, color theory is basically the learning how colors interact with one another and the concepts behind what makes certain colors work with other colors, what makes them look good.
Yeah.
So
I have a very inexpert experience with this, so you can kind of correct me, Jordan, as I sort of talk my way through this. But like a very basic concept is the color wheel, right?
Yes.
The color
All the colors fit on a wheel, and generally a general good rule of thumb is you have two colors that are complementary, right? The two that are next to each other on the wheel, and then one color that's opposite of where they are positioned on the wheel.
Complementary colors are actually opposite on the wheel.
Okay, there you go. This is what I'm talking about, my inexpertise.
So Philip, I would say go check out, like, there's tons of resources online. Go look up the color wheel. When I learned about color theory and color wheel, it made a huge difference in, like, sometimes you do a color scheme for an army, and if you don't have this reference, you might pick two colors you think will look good as a novice or intermediate painter, and then you start doing it, and you're like, that looks terrible. Like, once you actually get it on there. And I think knowing what these colors are and realizing, oh, I should put this with this, and I shouldn't put this color and this color. Like, I did something that was green and blue recently, but the shades of green and blue I had worked on, after I finished it, I was like, oh no, like, I done goofed. So, yeah, it's just a good thing.
There's a book that really helped me with bring out some color theory, is a book called Color by Betty Edwards. And it's especially good if you go through the painting. It's traditional painting, but if you go through the painting exercises, she has you create a bunch of different color wheels and do some exercises that really kind of lay down how to use color theory on your painting very well.
You said it's a
practically.
It's a book called Color.
It's a book called Color.
That seems like the hardest thing to Google on the planet. You're like, Google search, color book.
Yeah. Add Betty Edwards to that. and
No,
it'll come right
no.
up.
No, you can't give them the secret tip. Just Look, find the book called Color using only those words. Good luck.
Also, I like that because I wasn't really following exactly what was you were putting the blue onto the cloak and the hat, and now that you've got that kind of purple and stuff in there, I just want to point out how like rich and deep it looks now. Like
Yeah, it doesn't take a lot to kind of
like
bring out that color.
Like
right?
we've literally been just sitting here kind of BSing for like the last like 8-10 minutes, and it went from like, hey, here's a blue on a white to now it's like this really like rich, fully realized cloak and hat thing he's wearing. And like I turned around and it was just totally different.
And you've done so much of the model already. Like even if you don't finish on this, get your paint on. Like you've done a tremendous amount of work already on this miniature. You do need to do the ruffles though.
Yes,
we will do the ruffles.
Yeah.
I think we've got plenty of time for that.
I think what we've seen the most is like pinks and cream and
some green.
I like the pink idea.
I think that would really pop on him, right? Mm-hmm. I think pink would be really sweet.
Let's get some pink ruffles.
Is that a flavor?
Pink ruffles? of what?
Of ruffles.
Pink is not a flavor.
Doug Seacat, is it wrong that when I look at Baron Tonguelick, that instead of feeling afraid, I kind of feel like I want to give him a hug, a little snuggle? He's adorable. Is that wrong?
Well, you're asking Doug in chat?
Yeah.
Doug actually in chat earlier gave a fluff definition of what Baron Tonguelick does, but maybe we'll recap that on Primecast tomorrow.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good opportunity to talk about a little bit more into the in-depth on what all these new Grimkin models are all about.
And expect some more of the new Grimkin models coming up in the coming weeks as well.
Yes, I saw those on your desk as well.
I've got some plans to have some cool stuff on stream for you guys. So if that all checks out, we will see some more of it next week.
There's a lot of talk about Iron Kingdom's RPG stuff going on in chat right now because sometimes you'll pick up models like Baron Tonguelick. You maybe don't play Grimkin, right? But like you run the RPG, and so individual models like this that are full of flavor, you pick up and like paint them up.
This would be I would love to play this character.
So I was going to ask, what do you think the weirdest character you could play in an IK RPG would be?
So I mean, based purely on like the new Grimkin releases, it would be like I'm playing the Malady Man and another person is playing the monkey.
Okay. Tony, what do you think the weirdest thing you could play in the IK RPG would be? Did you steal that one?
Or it's like we're like a trio and we're all like the Nayslayers on the the attachment.
Yeah.
And so we're all on the base.
We're just riding around on it. My answer is going to be Rack. And someone is carrying me around. And what do you say? I just groan in pain. All right, cool.
Can the driver of the Death Knell be taken off the Death Knell? Is he allowed to go anywhere, or is he just always on the wagon?
I would ask Doug. I mean, he's a Grimkin, so like I'm pretty sure he probably just hangs out on the wagon the whole time. But
okay, can I be one of the little gremlins on his base, like the dude with the trombone?
It's an RPG. You do whatever you want.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We just be a little gremlin band.
If you want to make a campaign where you're all just different dragons and you just fly around.
There we go. Yeah, Legionnaires play as an agonizer. Yeah, that sounds like an engrossing, engaging gameplay experience.
Well, you know what the agonizers sound like, right? No, that's a sheep. It's more like.
Okay.
Wow.
How many times did you practice that?
What if I was a Gallows Grove that got turned into a pirate? That's got to be the weirdest.
I mean, yes. If you were a Gallows Grove that got turned into a pirate, how would you even roleplay that? I think you wouldn't because it doesn't make any sense. Hitacola says, Jordan, are you doing filters right now?
No. This is...
What's a filter? I don't know what
So,
that mean.
A filter is where you take a different color and you blend it into like the colors, like flat spaces to kind of add a little bit of, visual interest that wouldn't otherwise be there. Even if you don't necessarily recognize it as a separate color, your eye will perceive some subtle change in like color there, and it will affect how you perceive what the item looks like. It's hard for me to describe, but it's
witchcraft.
yes.
Okay.
Dark
Is
voodoo.
is it a s- is it? It sounds like it's a glaze.
It's
used
kind
for
of
a
like
very
a
specific
glaze.
purpose.
Yeah, it's a glaze that you're using to tint the like a flat surface of color, so that it's more interesting than just like a grayscale like building.
That
or
sounds
something
amazing.
like
When we have the blues and the purples he used for the cloak up on the screen, right? Because someone just asked, and I'm sorry, I just lost your name, about what highlight colors you were using. First off, we do need to get this yellow you've got up there. What
Yeah,
is
so
that?
I'm working with moldy ochre right now as a highlight color
Ochre.
for this teal bluish
Bam.
hat.
Here it comes.
We're working on. You can see a little bit of that kind of like.
I'm gonna
yellowish
guest
green
star
tone.
Jeff for this one.
You ready?
1, 2, 3. Nice. You're hired. Everybody wants a soundboard. They've been asking for soundboard for years. Now we got it.
The Jeff Olson soundboard.
People in the IKRP discussion asked, can I play a soul in a soul cage? That is an amazing campaign idea. So everybody in the party is dead. They're a soul trapped in a Crixian soul cage, but they know how to get out. And so every day, whenever like the war witch that has them goes to sleep, they sneak out and get on like Scooby-Doo style mystery adventures. But then they have to get back in the soul cage because they don't want somebody else to catch them, that they will do something worse to them. So like, you know, you got to get back in because life in this soul cage isn't that bad compared to what else could happen.
Yeah, I mean, what's it like in a soul cage?
It's like a Pokemon, but horrible. All right, I'm gonna write that campaign up. Striker, you can come play.
I don't know. I think maybe being a Pokemon would be kind of terrible. You're locked in that ball all day, and then when you come out, you get excited to fight for your life because it's better than being inside the ball.
That sounds like my life growing up. I can go outside. What do I have to do? Fight? Done.
Yeah, it's like Toy Story. Andy's home.
Oh yeah, it's like Toy Story, but you're like souls in the soul cage. Oh, get home before she finds us.
That I'm seeing, and I'm really liking this yellow that you're doing on the clothing. It's really
Yeah,
cool.
lately I've been kind of a big fan of using just a generic yellow or like a very different color than what I would normally use for highlights for like blue, and using it as a separate color on top. And unfortunately, the webcam's not really giving you a great kind of idea of what this looks like in person, but it's got this really nice like glow to it, like warmth to the highlights.
Like his like warts and stuff that he has on his legs and stuff. Do you think you're going to go back at some point and pull those out? You know,
Yeah,
as in paint
definitely.
them or make him really pestilent.
Yep.
Maybe hit him with a gloss and make him kind of look all slimy.
Oh man, like have him give him like slimy skin.
Yeah.
that'd be dope.
Like a nice little gloss varnish over just the warts though, so the skin looks sort of like dried out and the warts are all.
This is probably a question, probably more specifically for you because you will probably know this a lot better than we will, Jordan. But Marshall asks on Facebook, how does a model who comes up with and how do they come up with the studio scheme on the concept that you then paint? Basically,
So typically, I will get a colored version of the concept art from Mike Valancourt, and
And who is Mike Valancourt?
he's the art director. So he works with Matt Wilson, et cetera, to put together what the colors are going to be for specific models. He makes sure that gets organized. And then it comes to me, and I'll paint what's on there, basically.
and as someone who's the only thing I've ever seen about this is just being by your desk and seeing them up on your computer. It's basically the same concept art that all you fine folks see that we post, like on our CID forums, for example, and then they just take that and they make a colored version of it. They crayon it, basically.
Yeah. Yep.
And then the colors that show up, you don't get any recipes or anything. You just get the sheet with the colors, and then you are left to translate which paints and how that gets painted onto the model.
For the most part, I mean, we generally have recipes built for most of the factions already.
I mean, they don't like. For example, I suspect that if they put a red cloak on something, they probably know when they draw it red that they're okay. This is gonna be a Kador red, or they have an idea probably of what the equivalent red paint is.
Yeah, exactly. And like different, sub-factions or parts of armies, like Grey Lords will have their own particular like cloak color, things like that, that will all have a recipe for or all match to previously painted models so that it's cohesive. But there are some situations like Baron Tonguelick where, we don't have any preset recipes to go for, his purple cloak or his skin tone. So it's a lot of just finding references for toads or finding references for, things that kind of fit that description and kind of making it up as I go along. So that's kind of always fun when I get a little bit of extra, play to mess around with recipes, kind of do whatever I want there.
Jordan, are you edge highlighting right now with white?
So I mixed in a little bit of Menoth white highlight into the moldy ochre, just to put some pop highlights on the ridge of this hat, and some on this arm here.
So right now you've only got moldy ochre and a Menoth white in there?
Right.
Oh,
Tony!
Missed it.
What?
I'm about ready to walk out of here.
Yeah.
All right, here we go again.
How dare you, Tony? There you go.
But you're not using coal black or beaten purple right now, right?
Correct.
Tony, get those out of here. What? There's no sound effect when they disappear?
I'm sorry. See, you really threw off my game. Okay, get it together.
It's the same sound
All
effect.
right. So what was the call on the
I think I
pink.
yeah
pink? We're
I
doing
think we
pink?
kind of evenly spread, but I think we kind of agree that pink would be really cool.
All right.
And we got about 10 minutes. I mean, we can always go over a little bit if you think you're going to finish. We got some more to talk about, some more stuff to paint.
Sure.
But what are your feelings on getting this done before our time is up?
I mean, I think it'll be pretty close.
Okay.
I mean, obviously there's a
like
lot more work
75%
to
of the way
do.
there.
Yeah.
Well, let's do this. I'm going to post it to chat then. Next week, would you like to see Jordan bring back and finish the Baron if he doesn't finish today? Would you like to see him finish off Baron Tonguelick next week, or would you like to see him start a new model?
Well, they'll have to see. They're always going to say new model. I promise you.
Well, it isn't necessarily a new model.
Oh,
Well-
okay. So it may
well,
not be something you haven't seen before.
It's not necessarily not a brand new, never before seen model. Just starting a new project.
Got it.
Also, you may get to see that anyways. It's just a question of whether or not I'll be getting, time to finish this, or if you guys just want to see me work on something different for all of next week.
And then we're kind of reeling it back to the beginning of the show. Rancor 2113 in Twitch chat is asking, did you choose white over black as opposed to just black? I believe this is probably in reference to your priming for any particular reason, and is that a common practice for you?
I typically will always paint over a black base coat. It's a lot more forgiving. White tends to be very. It shows off a lot of the mistakes that you can make. So using a white, highlight with a spray can over a black base coat is kind of a really nice way of getting both sides of the coin. You get the nice, vibrant, white undercoat that you want to get, these nice, bright blue colors. But you also don't have to worry about, making sure every nook and cranny has got paint in it. Otherwise, you'll see this like white crevice in your model somewhere.
What color are you using right now for the pink?
This is Murderous Magenta. Sorry, I'll be better about telling you guys what's going on. Let's see here.
I feel like that sound should be reversed for when it disappears. Like,
And we're putting in a little bit of
Don't tell me how to do my job.
okay.
putting in a little bit of beaten purple here for shade for this.
I love it.
And on Twitch chat, Vandabeast says, Tonguelick. Does he lick with his tongue, or does he lick the tongues of others? I like your style.
Both.
I like this question.
Yeah, he licks with his tongue.
It's thought-provoking
and he's licking the tongues of others with his tongue.
and appropriately nerdy with the grammar.
Yeah. When he licks your tongue, he fills your mouth with flies.
Or bees.
No, he's no. He's not.
Flies?
No, he's not come. We're not introducing the Bee Master yet. That's different. He fills your mouth with flies.
Oh my god, we should do a B-Master Quest model.
Dog. You know I'm lead dev on that minute game, right?
Also, the fun game that I like to play, because Jordan and I are close friends outside of Privateer Press, is after he gets off work and we're hanging out, is to try and guess what he's been painting based on the paint that's on his hand.
Yep. Yep. This is,
You can see it right there.
Wait, can we add that? I'm going to add that as a
there.
segment every week. You just hold up your thumb and be like, what was I painting? Here's the colors.
Well, because you see a lot of like reds, whites, blacks kind of stuff, and it's like, oh, you're playing like a Cawdor model, or blues, it's Signar, right? And then you get to the weird stuff. Like I would have no idea what he'd be painting based on this red, yellow, blue nonsense that's on his thumb right now.
If I looked at those colors, I would think he had been painting Crucible Guard.
Yes, that's a good call.
That's what my guess would be.
Because like those could be like weird like vials of stuff.
And that color on his thumb looks very Crucible Guardy to me, like the official studio scheme.
Yeah, like kind of like that sort of green tealish.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was definitely
That
thinking
sea
about
green.
using that color or a similar recipe to that. Definitely left that paint downstairs. So
Nailed it.
going with something a little different.
Dude,
It's
how do you
okay.
keep the tip on your brush so awesome?
Don't destroy your brush.
I don't understand what you just said to me.
Wisdom.
I go through brushes like a madman.
I mean, to be fair, so do I. But
When I'm pushing the super glue around with my brush.
Don't do that.
I have don't tell anybody this. I've definitely done that before.
Oh.
Not with my normal brushes, but I've definitely used a paintbrush to move super glue around before. And it definitely does destroy the brush that you're using. So try not to do that, folks. It's a bad idea.
Vanderby says, fine, keep your brush preserving secrets. I know, right? That's what I'm trying to get at. I just want to know what I can do to stop destroying my brushes.
So for one, let me see if I can get this on here. So don't do that, for one. You don't want paint to get to the ferrule. which is this part right here.
One of my favorite words to say.
So when you get paint in here, it tends to splay the hairs out. So you can see how this is kind of like flared out a little bit. That's because I've been using this brush for a while. This one's still fairly new. But usually even when it's like this, you can get it a little bit wet and it'll still pull to a pretty nice tip. So, but yeah, don't get paint in your ferrule. Make sure to clean out your brush more frequently than not. You don't want paint to dry.
do you ever use like a brush soap or anything like that?
I do
And they have like
occasionally.
those little like blocks, or I don't even know what they're made of.
Soap.
Soap, yeah, generally.
You know what? That makes sense.
But yeah, brush soap can be really good. I use it every once in a while. I don't typically when I'm using my paint brushes frequently, just because I tend to keep them pretty clean. But some people will do it after every session. Some people won't. It just kind of depends on what your personal preference and your habit of keeping your stuff clean is.
And Tony went and hunted down a dope video about brush care that
Yes.
probably Dallas or Brendan did as a video a bit ago. Back in the Dizay.
Oh, he just posted it in Twitch chat. What a bro. Hey, Tony, whenever we post this on YouTube, can we post the link to the brush care video and maybe a link to the color wheel or something in the comments?
Maybe like that
So
the
that's-
book you're talking about would be cool.
As people watch this on YouTube later on, they can go check out what we've been talking about.
Look at that. Look at this guy. That's why you're the lead developer now.
I just
Got the big boy. Got the big boy ideas.
I understand how YouTube works. People like to have links. People like convenience.
Isn't it how I get free music?
Oh no, that's Napster, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Bringing back Napster.
I don't download new apps.
You don't download new apps? You're like MySpace and Napster.
A little bit of, what was it, LimeWire?
Oh, God.
Oh gosh.
Wait, just shut up, Jordan. You're too young.
Tony,
I am not too young for that. Thank you very much.
Tony's still rocking his live journal.
All right, we're
My
adding a little bit
GeoCities
of
site.
Rin Flesh.
Did you say
here.
GeoCities?
Yes.
See, my favorite thing about GeoCities is whether or not someone says GeoCities or occasionally Geocities.
Wait, you've
Yeah.
ever-
Oh yeah, no. And so I love to mispronounce things on purpose to just mess with people. Like I don't call them reciprocators. I call them reciprocators.
That's why I walk around saying Jetty instead of Jedi.
Yeah.
You
And
guys
so,
are literally the worst.
but yeah, Geocities. You're like, oh yeah, my old Geocities site, and it takes people, and they realize, like, you see the gear turn for a second, and they realize what you were trying to say, and they're like, what? And by that time, you're gone.
So I added a little bit of Rin Flesh to the Murderous Magenta to get my highlight color for these ruffles.
By the way, this ruffle color is sick.
Yeah, your
I'm a
ruffles
fan.
are what I think the kids on Instagram would call straight fire.
Yeah. Wait, hold on. How did you pronounce this flesh thing? That
He said Rin Flesh.
okay. I was wondering. I thought I heard something different. I thought I heard Rhine, and I was like, wait a second. I just read it. It doesn't look like a Rhine.
Ryan Flesh. God, Ryan Flesh sounds terrible.
All right, so gonna do a little bit of dark lining here just to separate out these different elements. So like in the hat, do a little bit of finishing touches on these while it's in a good area. So I'm using some Thamar black with some of my previous dark shade colors for the cloak, which was beaten purple, coal black, I believe, and a little bit of Meridius blue. There we go.
So you're just combining some black with your previous colors.
Correct,
To
yeah.
get yourself a deep like shade of those colors
Yep.
for the black lining, basically.
So a couple things, Jordan. First off, Nicholas Acosta. Hey, Nick. How you doing, by the way?
Yo, what up?
Nicholas is an amazing guy. Says, honestly, this is one of the best tutorial videos I've seen from Privateer Press. Awesome work, Jordan.
Oh, thank you.
And Robert Gilbert also says, nice to have decent close-up and lighting for this video. He's really happy with how it looks. So
Yeah, thanks, Tony.
Jordan, for your first ever Get Your Paint On, I would say things go well. And by the way, the Twitch chat consensus was they would like to see you finish Baron Tonguelick on the next Get Your Paint On. Like to
Awesome.
see him totally done.
Sounds good. We can do that.
Speaking of which, we are at the 11 o'clock mark. We can go for a few more minutes if we're feeling like we want to sit around chit chat a little more.
Sure, I'm down.
I think we're at a pretty good stopping point because right now Jordan's doing the black lining on to create that shadow and the separation between the blue and the pink, and then you'll probably be at like a decent just stopping point, right?
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. And then we'll work on some of those other elements, clean up some of the work that we did last time, or this time, but next week. And yeah, we'll finish them up next week then.
That sounds awesome.
I think he looks really, really good.
Yeah, I think
already.
Give
in
a
the
quick
1 hour of
360 on
work
this
you've
guy.
done while answering questions and having to talk and not just being purely focused, you did a tremendous job. Look at that thing. Spin it around for us.
Gotta paint fast, man. Gotta paint fast.
Show everybody what you got done in an hour.
Oh, yeah, we still got to do the bug. We can do that next week.
Yeah, we'll do the bug. We'll do
Bug,
Bumblebee bug next
Fur.
week.
Are you gonna do that the like that sort of leather strap on the back of his cloak a different color? Or you leave it at the blue. You probably leave it at the blue, right?
I think I'm gonna leave it the blue. I may change my mind between now and
We'll have
next
to go look
week.
at men's
We'll
fashion
see.
to find out what like the
Yeah.
proper.
Oh yeah. Ooh, you know what would look good? I might repaint it black.
Interesting.
Might,
Yeah.
might be nice.
God,
Maybe even
he's
do
so
these.
tubby. Look at him.
Might
Look
do
at his
these cuffs
bell.
in black too.
yeah. And what do you think about the cane? What do you think the cane's gonna end up being? Just
I mean,
Gold.
I'll leave it up to the chat and see whether or not we want like a nice black cane, if we want
Ivory cane.
brown, what have you.
yeah.
We'll kind of go from there.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks for joining us, everybody. This has been a solid. This will be a fun one to watch on YouTube later. A lot of good stuff going over. A lot of fun tutorial. And join us tomorrow for Primecast at 10 a.m. Pacific. It's a show where we just get people from the different departments in the company and talk about what's going on. And of course, every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific, you can join us for the Dev Chat with myself, Jeff, and Oz. And every Thursday, come join Jordan. This has been his first Get Your Paint On.
But not my last.
Not your last. It went phenomenally. So come watch the rest of Baron Tonguelick next week.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for coming in, you guys.
You know what that means?
We'll see you next week.
Lunchtime.
It is lunchtime.
Jimmy Jams.
I'm totally going to Jimmy
Jimmy
Jams.
Jams.
Jordan, we're going to Jimmy Jams.
Are you going to Jimmy Jams?
Yeah, we're going to Jimmy Jams.
Let's go to Jimmy Jams.
Let's go to Jimmy Jams.
I'm ready, dude.